Okay. So I'd like to give a report, and I will try to move through it expeditiously. But given the times that we're living in, there are a lot of thank yous to share and some other points to discuss. First, I'd like to thank the district administration for working so diligently to ensure a relatively smooth and swift transition to remote instruction. That said, I think it's important to remind folks that there will be continued hurdles to overcome and that we're going to need to be patient with each other as we strive to strike the right balance between the continuation of learning and the realities of learning from home. I commend our staff for their measured approach. I'd especially like to thank Dr. Treese and the grading committee for their efforts. The board also applauds the efforts of our students and their parents and caregivers for their resilience and ability to adapt to all the changes being thrown their way. We know how difficult these days can be. Please know that we are working with the district to support you along the way. We are so proud to serve this district. Even in the midst of all that you're dealing with, there have been many examples of students, families, and staff working to support each other and the surrounding community. Thanks for your creativity, your selflessness, and your kindness. We may not know what the future holds or what date we will return to school, be it the spring or the fall. There's much uncertainty. However, I can say with great certainty that we are well positioned to face any challenges head on. The board will continue to collaborate with the administration, and we will all persevere. Of paramount importance to the board, and I know these are issues that the administration has on their radar as well, will be things such as measuring the academic progress by students during the period of virtual instruction, providing necessary remedial programming, adjusting education programs to accommodate social distancing and other preventative measures should we get back to school, addressing the mental health needs of students and staff, examining the impact on school sports and other extracurricular activities, and again, if we are in school, maintaining the adequate sanitation of school facilities. And last but not least, determining the pandemic's impact upon school finances. With that, I would like to read a letter that was presented from the Board of Education to the staff this past Friday. I'd like to read it into the record, and for those that may watch the meeting back, since we are an intimate crew tonight. Dear administrators, teachers, and staff of the Hopewell Valley Regional School District, we hope that this message finds you well. In these challenging times, we, the members of the Board of Education, would like to express our appreciation to the extraordinary efforts you have made and continue to make on behalf of the students of this district. As the board works to support student achievement and well-being, we are ever mindful of the essential role you play and the skills, expertise, and qualifications that you possess to the benefit of the students of this district. As we continue to work together towards this new normalcy of remote learning, please know that we recognize your efforts. We support you as you strive to provide meaningful instruction to students and do the work of this district. We are continuously impressed by and grateful for the work you do under normal circumstances. These times are anything but normal. We are all being challenged in unforeseen ways. We applaud your perseverance and ability to rise to the occasion. To Dr. Smith and the district administrative team, thank you for demonstrating consistent leadership and professionalism in uncertain times. You have shown incredible grace under pressure and have represented this district with distinction. We appreciate your measured response to pandemic-related matters, your comprehensive and coordinated efforts, and your timely and clear communications. Time and again, you have demonstrated your dedication along with your genuine care and concern for the students and staff of this district. To teachers, paraprofessionals, and counselors, thank you for looking out for your students and going the extra mile to ensure that both their academic and emotional needs are met. Thanks for reassuring them, comforting them, being compassionate, and giving them the space to breathe. Thank you for anticipating their needs before they may even be revealed to them. Thank you to those of you who work to keep our buildings and grounds safe and clean. Thank you to those providing administrative support and those maintaining district finances. Thank you to our technology department for supporting remote learning, running the help desk, and maintaining district equipment. Thank you to the transportation department for delivering lunches and for stepping up to assist with the activities of the Hopewell Valley Mobile Food Pantry. Thank you to all of you for juggling the demands of work and the responsibilities of home. Thank you for working remotely and for dealing with the shortcomings of technology and internet connectivity issues. Thanks for your creativity, your resilience, and your dedication. We are proud of your efforts and are grateful to serve in such a wonderful district. We can't predict what will happen in the immediate future. However, we are confident this district will continue to meet the challenges presented by COVID-19 with hard work, preparation, creativity, collaboration, and through sharing of best practices. This situation will most certainly continue to challenge us. May the adversity we face also reveal new and exciting ways to work, collaborate, and grow. We thank you for all that you have done and continue to do to ensure the educational and emotional needs of our students in the district are met. Please do not hesitate to reach out to us with your concerns and suggestions for ways that we may best support you in the days ahead. Please be well. Sincerely, the members of the Hopewell Valley Regional School District Board of Education. And with that, I will pass it off to Dr. Smith for his superintendent's report.
Well, it's hard to top that. Thank you. I can't thank you enough for your support through this. Guidance of our board president and feedback from our board members has really been essential to our growth. Again, yeah, I think your message was very well received by staff. It was a fantastic letter to receive. On Friday, we sent it out, and I immediately got a lot of responses from staff members who were just incredibly appreciative of everything you have done to support us and work through this. So it really is a nice place to be, and especially when your work is acknowledged, it's even that much more special. With that being said, Deb, as you mentioned, we still have some work to do. I met with our key communicators a little while ago and our district parent council just this morning. District parent council is made up of members from our PTOs across the district. With that, the board president sat in on that meeting, as well as Jess Grillo. And also we had 3 administrators, building administrators, as well as Dr. Therese. And I think we had a great roundtable discussion and got some great feedback and constructive feedback from what parents are experiencing. We know that we have some issues with consistency. I think that we are fortunate in comparison to many districts that our problems are relatively small. I know that my neighbors, neighboring districts, some of them were trying to get in their building to print out packets to send home, another round of packets to send home to their students. We're actually opposite of that, where we're really trying to connect more and more with students. And that's really what, when we talk about student mental health, trying to get to a sense of normalcy and routine, I think it was really important for us to get there. We made some great strides on the high school level, good strides on the middle school level. Hopefully by the end of this week, we will have some things set up on the elementary level with a routine in mind. Some of the feedback that we've gotten with parents is they like all of the Google Meets, but sometimes it's just too much also. So putting a better structure to that and making sure that we are allowing people to live their lives too. So a 5 o'clock p.m. read to everyone is a very nice thing, but it also, we understand that that's a challenge for some parents because that also breaks into dinner time and things like that. So our hope is to put in a schedule, even more of a schedule moving forward. I think we've made some steps towards that, but none of this really couldn't have been done without the board. And another huge shout out to a couple organizations, so we were able to print out well over 1,000 at this point masks on 3D printers that were donated by the Ed Foundation in the beginning. They donated one to each school with that. And we have, I think, virtually every student in our district, if they do not have a laptop or a Chromebook, they have access to that. And that's something I'm going to reach out to parents this week also, because we know that some folks are having challenges logging on using their home equipment. So we still have a few Chromebooks that were previously classroom Chromebooks that we can get out to parents. And you thanked our bus drivers. I want to give a huge shout out to them again for not only delivering food, but delivering Chromebooks to folks. And, you know, none of this could have been possible without the board's support several years ago of going down this one-to-one initiative. So, you know, blended learning is something we've been working on. And I'm not saying we're doing it perfectly here, but we have a lot of really strong staff members who were embracing blended learning in the classroom and easily flip-flopped to making this happen in our remote learning platform. So it's been really a fantastic experience for many folks with this. But again, I can't thank the board enough for supporting that vision, having those discussions years ago, and putting this into place. Because again, in talking to our neighboring districts, those who don't have this set up are really struggling. So we are ahead of the curve on so many levels. Now we can really work hard to fine tune and balance. And I really think, Deb, your terminology of balance and you know, measured progress that we are making is important, because we continue to grow as we go through this and get feedback from it. No one could have foreseen this length of time, and you know, we don't know what the future brings, but we know it's incredibly important to support our kids academically, but also socio-emotionally. So we're going to be doing a big push on that. And you know, one thing we can't forget, and we talked about this morning, is the support of parents. And I think they're feeling, many parents are feeling left out or isolated through this also. So I have a call set up with Dr. Abrams, and we're going to talk about how we can better support and maybe hold groups with PTOs and with parents to support them through this. Because, you know, we made light of it, but I am home with 3 students who are actively doing remote learning, and, you know, the internet goes down and it's a stressful time. And my wife is also working from home. So that's a drain, not only on your emotions, but on resources when, you know, you're in the middle of a conference and either your dog knocks out your power cord or the internet goes down. So that's all real life things that many of us are dealing with. And I had a good conversation with a parent who has 3 children under the age of 10, and trying to make this all work with that while working from home. It's different than a high schooler where you're just making sure they're doing their work, but also making sure that we're keeping kids engaged. So we're hard at work. We're continuing our work. We are certainly not resting on what we've achieved so far, but we know we will get through this, and know that we will be doing our best to support all of our students, all of our staff, and all of our parents through this. The big other conversation topic has been our end of the year activities. So we're working hard through that. I know Principal Gianfreddi from the middle school and Principal Smith at the high school both sent out communications last night to talk about all those contingency plans. We are actually meeting with the Chief of Police tomorrow to talk about setups for potentials of all of our different activities. And it's important for us to make sure all of them are celebrated in a way that is necessary. And that is also working with organizations, because one of the things that came up is that a parent had asked about the music theater parents organization, and that's not really run by us, but how we can work with them to support that virtually for them, because they have an annual conference also. So I don't want anybody to think that we don't support the arts, or that wasn't part of our thinking. That is just typically not one of our presentations that we develop as a district, but we are there to support the parents and obviously the students as much as we possibly can. So no more information will be coming out to that. You've heard my story. I have a senior myself, so I'm living it along with many of you, and we're going to do everything we possibly can to make sure that their last few weeks and months in our district are special ones. And Principal Smith has a couple of things up her sleeve to make sure that we're doing our best to make sure those seniors know that we care about them and that their experience, and as they leave our district, that they were special to us. I think that's pretty much it for the majority of my report. I am happy to answer any questions regarding anything that's going on. You know, we're doing our weekly updates and making sure that everybody is in a good place. But as I wrap up, I cannot be more appreciative of the Board of Education, but also letting folks know, and I'll be sending out a couple more communications related to this, is we do have our remote learning survey looking for feedback. I believe someone told me this, and I'm going to check it, but I think of all the districts in the country that are doing remote learning, I believe we are the only district that has already put out a remote learning survey. Don't quote me on that. I don't know if that's absolutely true, but we put it out to parents, students, and staff members. We've already have, I think it's 795 responses, had I checked so far, and gotten some good feedback through that. So please take the time and fill it out. As I said, I'm going to put it out again to our community, but I think that just demonstrates our commitment to making this, to not only just getting through with this and doing the state minimum, but trying to exceed and making sure that what we're doing is the best we can possibly do. And the survey is one demonstration of wanting to get our feedback from our parents, from our students, from our staff, and how we can better support them. So with that, I will stop talking and I can answer any questions from the board prior to Mr. Suso going over our buy it twice a year violence and vandalism report. But with that, Board President Linthorst, I'm happy to entertain any questions.
Does anyone have any questions for Dr. Smith?
I'd like to ask one, Tom, just quick question. I saw, like, and I should have asked this before, please pardon. In terms of the different end of year events that we typically have, there was one, I think it was the academic awards, that would be, regardless of the scenario, it seemed that it would be deferred. That's the one where you have a mix of grade levels, correct? And is it basically the idea that we would prefer not to have that many parents, students, whatever, in the one place at this time? Is it the sheer number of people? Was that the main driver for that proposal?
So that's the main driver for that one, because we have a lot of people who attend that one. But again, I think all of this is in flux and we're getting feedback from folks. We want to make sure that we're recognizing students. So the thinking specifically for that one is you're going to have the senior awards, so they will get their recognition. And that even if you're a junior, we could recognize you the following year also, so you wouldn't be without it. But again, since Tana sent that out yesterday, we've gotten a lot of feedback and questions about different things. So, we're taking all that feedback and we're going to do our best to move it out. But, we're trying to balance, and that's the big word about all this is who knows what the parameters will be. If you read any of the CDC guidance of, and I don't want to go down this road, but even if you look at September, the potential of split sessions and things like that to limit, it's all a lot to discuss on April 20th.
Thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions for Dr. Smith? Okay. Seeing none, thank you, Dr. Smith, for your report. We will move on and ask Mr. Suso to provide his report on the mid-year report of violence, vandalism, and substance abuse, please.
Yeah, sorry to everyone. So I'm actually going to share my screen just so you can see the report that I'm talking about. So this is report period 1. So it consists of only from September to the end of December. And then report period 2, which will consist of the entire year, will be done for the board in October. So I'm just going to go through some slides. This is just, so whenever there's an issue with violence and vandalism, there is a form that is required to be filled out that we do have to submit for the state. So this is an example of what that form looks like. And then if there's a harassment, intimidation, or bullying issue, there's a form that we need to fill out as well. If there is a HIB, you need to fill out this form as well as the violence and vandalism form for the state. So this just gives you an idea of incidents by locations, and keeping in mind this is only through December. So you can see here each school that's listed, and then the total events for each different category. And then on the far right, you have the number of HIBs that were actually reported. And then after investigation, you have the numbers that were actually confirmed based to be an actual HIB. This gives you an idea of a 4-year trend. So when we look at all the different categories, including HIB, you can kind of see, keeping in mind that the 3 years on the left, 16, 17, 17, 18, 18, 19 are for the full year. And this year, 19, 20 so far, this is only for the half year. And then as we get into all the different programming, we have a lot. And as you know, a major focus in the district has been on culture responsive teaching and character education, which directly play into all of this. We spend a lot of time with social emotional learning, and we continue to do that at all levels throughout the district. On an annual basis, I spend time with our administrative team, as well as our anti-bullying specialists that we have in each building. And we review the bullying law, if there have been any changes to the bullying law. And then as far as our procedures of investigations and our timelines, our counselors typically play a role in that. Many of our counselors serve as anti-bullying specialists in our schools. We're fortunate enough to have campus safety officers in the district, 1 in each building, and the high school having 2. So they're playing a role as well as far as hopefully preventing issues with violence and vandalism in our buildings. We've said it on many occasions, but we have an outstanding relationship with local law enforcement, both in Hopewell Township and Pennington Borough. We have a student assistance counselor in each building, which does a lot of great work in the area of substance abuse. We have an outstanding relationship with Healthy Communities and Healthy Youth and our municipal alliance with Heidi Kami. And we have a lot of different clubs and organizations who take this work on and are doing great work. And then we are mandated by the state, although I would argue, obviously, this is work that needs to be done all year long. But the state does require a week of respect in October, and then a week of violence and vandalism awareness, where we do a lot of different activities with our students throughout the day. It could be during the lunch periods, morning announcements, public service announcements, all kinds of contests that we have with our students. Again, just to promote the type of environment that we're looking to have within our school buildings on a daily basis, not only in October, but throughout the entire school year. So as I mentioned, this is just through December. In October, at this point, it will cover obviously January, February, and from the time that we were out in March. And then if there are any other issues moving forward, obviously if we had an event during remote learning that could be classified as a bullying event, our same procedures would be in place, and we would do the best to investigate it and then report it back. And depending upon how the end of the year plays out, if we are back in school, obviously the same situation. So do I have any questions?
Tony, from the standpoint of, after mid-March, have you been getting any?
I have not. Nothing yet since we've been on remote learning. So.
Any other questions for Mr. Suso? Okay. So seeing none, I'd like to request a motion to accept the mid-year 2019-2020 report of violence, vandalism, and substance abuse.
So moved. So second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstaining? Motion carries. So now we will allow for a public comment period. Members of the public are invited to address the board on any matter for a maximum of 3 minutes during this portion of the meeting. You are asked to state your name, address, and municipality. In response to your comments, the Board of Education may respond or direct the superintendent to do so. The board may also opt to take the matter up at a future meeting so that the matter is researched by the district administration. Members of the public who intend to participate have written in. Mr. Secretary, do we have any comments on the violence and vandalism report?
We do not.
Okay, thank you. So with that, public comment is closed, and I'd like to thank Mr. Suso for his report and his time and attention to these matters. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Moving on, do we have any items of old business to discuss? Okay. With that, we would move to consent agenda, although I am informed by the board secretary that we do not have any items for consent agenda tonight. Your agenda indicates that the revision of curriculum would be on there, but that actually will call for a roll call vote. So we will move to that in a moment. It is really up to the individual committee chairs whether or not you would like to give reports tonight or whether you'd like to save those for the meeting next week, since this is a work session. I don't know if, Mr. Sawicki, did you want to reserve your report for next time, or would you like to say a few words about finance and facilities?
So let's see. It's probably worth, just so people are aware of it. We did have a finance and facilities meeting since the last main board meeting, and mainly what we were discussing there was based upon where we had fallen with regard to expenditures this year. There was some budget that had been left over, and we discussed some potential projects, relatively small in nature, that were warranted to be having done in the near term. So we'll be presenting, those will be up on the agenda for next week. And Bob helped me out, but mainly what they were, the main ones we had were, we had some work to do in the showers, in the locker rooms. I think it was the boys' locker room in particular. Some of those were not one. Okay.
Oh.
And then we had some carpeting replacements and in some classrooms, and I believe also in the PAC. And
Yes.
that was basically an amount of money that by doing things efficiently we had saved up, and we can go ahead and move forward with those projects with the money that we had from this year's budget, so we don't have to allocate budget in out years to do that work.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Sawicki. Moving on to Education Committee. Ms. O'Reilly, did you want to report anything to the board or wait until the 27th? Ms. O'Reilly, are you with us? Okay. If you need to report, let us know. We'll wait for you. Hello?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
You can hear me.
Yes,
You can?
I can
Okay.
hear you.
I had
Can
my
you
headphones
hear
on.
me?
For some reason, the headphones turned off the microphone. Okay. Anyway, I'm going to speak about EdCom. The notes are in the folder for EdCom if you want to go take a look. But we had two presentations. One was on blended learning, which is very timely. And Tony and Ms. Rivera, Vice Principal of Timberlane, shared the history about, how our one-to-one initiative set us up very nicely for blended learning. They also talked about different types of blended learning, what it looks like. There's example, flipped classroom is one example, station rotation, real-time grouping, flexible grouping. And they've been working with a company called Highlander, which has been providing training, and they're going to be moving forward with Highlander for next year as well. We also got an update for English language arts from David Sherwin and Michelle Maglione, who's the LDTC in the district. And they talked a lot about the reading programs at the elementary levels, primarily phonemic awareness. There's a new program, and it's not new, but we've been doing it, I don't know how long, not too long though, the Haggerty program. And we have been doing foundations for a long time. And we're going to continue doing that. And as that rolls through, we will be reaching more and more students who may have had problems with reading. I think our numbers were going down with regards to teachers referring students to the INRS process for reading issues. And I think that's attributed to the great programs we have in place. Then Dr. Smith and Dr. Treese talked about the remote learning and how we've been doing really well, and how because our professional development programs have been geared towards blended learning and technology, that we're in a really good place. And it's difficult for teachers who are learning this for the first time, some of these different programs and platforms. And I know for me, it's been difficult as well. So we appreciate all the work that all the teachers and the administrators are doing for assisting with training. And then the last thing is the CUSAC update, which Dr. Treese let us know that we had to just kind of clean up some of the curriculum in order to just modify some things for CUSAC. And that's what we'll be doing a roll call on today. The pupil services is just for one student, and then the rest is the curriculum. And I'm done.
Thank you, Ms. O'Reilly. Dr. Treese, did you want to speak to any of those items under the revision for curriculum?
Yes, I was really pleased that the revisions that we had were minor. There were some minor additions that that our education specialist, Marie Capello, asked us to add to the documents. We overall passed with flying colors, and with just what her terminology was, just some polishing she's asking from us. So with us approving these small additions to our curriculum guides, we're going to receive the points for CNI, but we still have some other work that we need to do in other areas for us to finish the process. So this is a great step toward getting through the process of finishing CUSAC.
Thank you very much. Any further questions of the Education Committee?
Debbie, I had one. You mentioned how we're dealing with INRS. I guess my question was, from the standpoint of doing those types of evaluations, had we migrated them to being online evaluations so that this process in this period was seamless, or have we had to adapt some of our evaluations based upon that?
For me?
It could be for you or Rosetta or Tom.
Actually,
I don't know.
Paulette.
Typically,
Or Paulette,
ahead,
yeah,
Tom.
I'm sorry, I forgot you.
Paulette's on the line, so if she's willing, I'm sorry, Deb, I didn't mean to cut you off, but since
no, I don't know how to answer it anyway.
Yeah, sure. Adam, are you referring to the presentation that was given by Dave and Michelle?
Wow,
And
yeah,
the INRS process?
yeah.
Yeah, so
I think just the classification process, if you could just talk about that. So if you need to do your psychiatric evaluation or psychological or
with
learning,
regard
all of that stuff.
is that what your question is? Because that's not INRS, that's special education testing.
I think I had mentioned that our INRS teacher referrals had gone down with the implementation of all our reading programs at the primary level. And so then Adam had asked about how are we doing the INRS process now?
Yes.
Is it still teacher referrals electronically?
So during this time period, what we're doing is teachers are continuing with the instruction and the data collection to the best of their ability. They're still holding meetings to discuss any kind of specific concerns that are related to specific student needs. We have a really comprehensive literacy profile where the teachers collect data points 3 different times during the year to assess the student's progress. And that's not just the children that are in intervention and referral, but that's also all our students K through grade 2.
Okay, but actually, you made me think of something. So then, if we do have a case where we do have a student referred to for a special for different types of evaluations, be they psychological or whatever, were we previously set up to do all that type of work virtually, or
Yeah, that's a great question. I've been on a lot of meetings over the past 2 weeks with surrounding districts and with the state just regarding this issue. So for our students who have been referred prior to the COVID shutdown, we are not able to do psychological or educational evaluations virtually. We don't have approval to do that yet. What we are able to do is our social workers are able to start socials because they can do that virtually. But any type of educational testing has to wait until we are with the students face to face. And that has to do with initials and then reevaluations, Adam. So students who already are receiving special education during this time period, if they're up for reevaluation, which is every 3 years that we do this, if they're in that process and there's been meetings that happened prior and are also happening now, we are permitted per code to look at the data that we have thus far this year regarding the student progress, and then also to look at previous testing. And that is with the understanding that if the student is in a program that they're experiencing success, the team and the family do not see him transitioning to a different program, he's going to stay and receive the same type of services, then we'll just continue with those services and do what's called like a functional write-up.
Okay, but it does sound like you're in a little bit of a challenge if you do have any students who are where something is being potentially noticed now. So
Absolutely. I mean, it's not just us; it's across the nation, and it is a concern. We're trying to support the kids as best as we can that are in this situation. Unfortunately, we have the staffing and the administration to help us, but it's one of the challenges right now.
okay, no, thank you very much, Paulette.
Sure.
Appreciate it.
Any other questions for the Education Program Committee? Okay, with that, Mr. Colavito, I'll request a roll call vote, please, on the revision of curriculum.
Okay, need a motion?
So moved.
Second. And who was that? Because I didn't see it flash up.
Sarah said I moved it, and I think Elise
Elise
seconded.
and
Jenny both seconded it.
Okay. Crazy. Okay, all those in favor, Ms. Grillo?
Yes.
I think she said yeah. Okay. Mr. Herbert?
Yes.
Ms. Long?
Yes.
Mr. Mason?
Yes.
Ms. Murray?
Yes.
Ms. O'Reilly?
Yes.
Mr. Sawicki?
Yes.
Ms. Tracy?
Yes.
And Ms. Lindfors?
Yes,
Motion carries.
thank you very much. Community Relations, Jenny, did you want to report today?
I can. I don't have a lot to report. We basically discussed stuff that has already now come out, the survey questions and the key communicator discussion. We talked about that it was a good idea to meet with the, I'm forgetting what they're called, the PTO presidents. I can't remember.
The DPC.
Yeah, thank you. I was on it for years and I can't remember. So we talked that's pretty much what we talked about, as well as the communication that has been going out from Dr. Smith weekly and the updates. And then the issues of the seniors, what Miss Smith from the high school was going to send out. But basically, I think pretty much everyone has seen what we discussed by this point.
Okay. Thank you. I
Thank
realize
you.
I skipped over personnel, but we did not have a meeting, correct? So there's
Correct.
nothing to report.
Correct.
Yes.
Okay. So then we will move on to policy. Three different items discussed there. The first one being the property tax revenue issue. And as you may all recall, the board had given me their blessing to write a letter to our state senator, Shirley Turner, in regard to this Assembly Bill 3902. As you may recall, the bill deals with the state's ability to permit municipalities to delay the transmission of property tax payments to the school districts during declared emergencies. At this point in time, there is no action taking place in the Senate, but given that we live in a time where things are happening and they're meeting online, it could happen. So we want to continue to be prepared in the event that it does and voice our opposition. And that's what we're doing here with this resolution. Again, as you may recall, the property taxes in most places on average constitute about 60% of public school revenue. In the instance of Hopewell, that's 92%. So this is a very significant issue for us should we not receive our payments on time. And so I encourage you to read the resolution on your own. We don't need to read that into the record, but this is to confirm that we are in opposition to this, and this will go forward to Governor Murphy and Senator Sweeney and Assembly Speaker Coughlin and others, so that Hopewell is in the record on this one. I believe I need to request a motion from the board to accept that resolution.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? The motion carries. Moving on to our policies for first reading. At our past meeting, the policy committee discussed bylaw 0164 regarding conduct of board meetings and bylaw 0166 regarding executive session. In light of the pandemic and the stay-at-home orders, the policy committee has been charged with the task of revising our bylaws to allow for executive sessions to occur during virtual board meetings. We've had a prohibition against board members participating electronically in executive session for several years now, but the committee feels that the reasons for that prohibition have been superseded by the board's need to continue on with the work of the district. So we must have, as board members, we must have the ability to discuss several important items in the near future. Due to their sensitivity, they may only be discussed during executive session. In fact, given the conversations that the committee had with regard to this issue, and the reason why we are advocating for this change is that we feel that the issues which were of concern in the past, such as the need to trust members to maintain confidentiality during executive session, are quite frankly responsibilities that we vow to uphold when we become board members. So we'd like to ask for your consideration of this. If the board reviews and approves these bylaws tonight and on April 27th at their second reading, we will then be able to hold executive session at the end of our meeting on the 27th. So I'd like to request a motion to accept these policies or bylaws for first reading, please.
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Abstaining? Motion carries. And then the policies that are up for second reading, there were no changes requested at the first reading. policy 1642 on its accompanying regulation, and policy 3431.1 on family. For these, I'd like to request a motion for a roll call vote, please.
I have to do a roll call vote.
So I'm not muted right now.
Might I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Sec,
Mr. Calavita, roll call
Second.
vote, please.
Mr. Herbert.
Yeah.
Ms. Long.
Yes.
Mr. Mason.
Yes.
Ms. Murray.
Yes.
Ms. O'Reilly.
Yes.
Yes.
Mr. Sawicki. Ms. Tracy.
yes.
Ms.
Yes.
Grillo. And Ms. Linthorst.
Yes,
Motion carries.
thank you very much. Any items of routine information to pass along? Seeing none, we will move to the review of board calendars, please. Let's start with the Finance Committee.
Let's see.
Did
Forgive
we
me,
want
Bob.
to do before the meeting? Did we want to do them before the meeting on Monday, Adam?
I think that would make sense if you can do that, Bob.
Yeah, that's no problem.
Okay.
6 o'clock. Does that work,
Six
Tony?
looks fine.
I'm working with. Okay. 6 o'clock.
Are you talking about a finance meeting?
Yes.
Is that a problem, Debbie?
No, I'm sorry, say it again.
6 p.m. on the 27th.
Yes, okay, good.
Thank you.
Tony, does that
Personnel?
work with you?
Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, that's
Yes.
fine. We can do personnel at 7. Is that okay?
Elise, is that good for you?
Yes.
Thank you. Education Committee.
Well, Rosetta, I can meet anytime after 2 o'clock any day, except Tuesdays and Thursdays has to be after 4 o'clock. Don't we already have one set? Or no?
That's a good question.
Normally what we used to do in the past was they were always a Monday of the board meeting. So on the calendar, it's on the 18th, which I believe, right? May 18th.
May 18th? Let me,
But that, that would be in the afternoon before the board meeting. I don't know if that works.
okay, May 18th.
So we might have to push it to the week before is what I think we may have to do.
I could do the week before too. We can do it. What time is best to have, teachers and other administrators come in to talk?
I think whatever you want to do. We have Dr. Abrams coming to talk about a few things with us.
That's right.
So it doesn't matter what day you pick, she can probably work it out.
Okay. 2 o'clock would be good on that Monday, the Monday before.
It's the
So-
11th.
Yes,
Yep. That good?
that works for me.
Works for me.
How about everyone else?
What time do you want it again? 2:30 or 2? What time?
2 o'clock?
2 o'clock sounds good.
Is that good, Jenny?
That's good for me.
Elise?
Yes.
Cool.
Thank
Okay.
you.
And then
Community Relations. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, Bob.
I was going to say, and then finance and personnel on the 18th, same times, 6 and
Yeah.
7.
Yeah.
Okay.
And Community Relations.
Whenever, did we do a Wednesday afternoon? What time works best for Jess and John? I just can't do Monday mornings. That's my one time I can't do.
Just tell me when. Last time we met on Thursday the 9th at 3.
Jess, what's the best time for you?
I could do Thursday between 2 and 4.
Okay, so how about the Thursday, whatever the Thursday is, the week before the board meeting?
This Thursday, the 23rd.
May 23rd? No.
No,
Okay.
May 14th.
May 14th?
Yeah.
Okay, May 14th at 3?
Perfect.
Sounds good. That works for you, John?
That's good. I'm in.
All right. Thank you.
Tony, just to ask, do we need to schedule a virtual negotiation session, or is that?
No,
Okay.
we're still working through that. We're okay.
Is that even permissible? Can we do it virtually?
I think it would be challenging, but we can maybe talk offline about that, but
Okay. And policy. What was our last one again? I'm trying to pull it up here. We met on April 3rd. Do we want to do May 1st?
Tom, you're
At
muted.
8 a.m.? Sorry?
Tom is muted.
Oh, Tom's muted.
Sorry, rookie mistake.
Would May 1st at 8 a.m. work for policy? Or would
Works
you
for me.
rather push it to the next Friday? Not that it has to be a Friday, but that's what we typically do, right?
Yeah, it seems to work well for people. I leave it up to the rest of the
Yes.
group, whoever's.
Bill, John?
Either one works for me. The 1st or the 8th.
Sarah?
Yep. That works for
Oh,
me.
I said Bill. I'm sorry, Sarah.
Yeah, it's all right.
Okay.
it'll be the first.
Shoot for
All
the
right,
first.
yes, the 1st at 8
8
a.m.
Great.
Bob, I added everything to the board calendar.
Okay, Tom.
Thank you.
you.
All right. I'd like a motion to accept the calendars, please.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Hi.
Opposed, abstaining? Motion carries.
Great.
Any items of new business? And seeing none, we will move into our work. Okay. Do we need to do anything else procedural or move into work session now?
You can move into work session now.
All right. Dr. Smith, please take it away.
Sure. So our work session really at this point is just budget preparations
Okay.
for our meeting on Monday. If anybody has any questions or comments or concerns about as we present the budget going forward. So Monday, just kind of working through the process is the final approval of the budget that will go to the county office. To date, we have no information about funding. So we are presenting the budget as developed. It was approved by the county office. At this point, our tentative budget, we have gotten, to my knowledge, no feedback from the board looking what we changed. But I did want to provide an opportunity for conversation and for discussion regarding the budget moving forward. So, and just so you're aware, there's lots of rumors going around about state funding and changes in contracts and things like that. At this point, our recommendation is to really strike the budget as it was developed because there's a lot of unanswered questions at this point. While we might see savings in transportation, for example, we might have to provide some level of summer programming to remediate any loss of instruction going forward. So that might end up to be a wash. A lot of things are up in the air as we stand today. Bob, I don't know if you want to jump in with kind of some of the conversations that you have had with your organization, but to date, we're not recommending any changes in our budgeting.
No, Tom, just to echo what you said, the state, the people that I'm speaking with, the county people and, my organizational people are all saying is to maintain business as usual right now. The state has actually sent out several things indicating that they want us to continue to spend out our budgets. There is work, as Deb mentioned in her resolution in her letter. There is some opposition to the taxes legislation that's not out there yet. It could come out, but they're kind of holding and trying to keep us running. They're telling us they want us to continue to educate kids to do all that stuff. So, as of right now, there's no indication that there's going to be any cuts to this year's, state aid. And, the governor right now is working on plans to continue to keep everybody whole, knowing that we are going into some uncertainty on July 1st and into, the start of next school year. And as Tom said, there are areas where we may have to do some extra unbudgeted areas of focus. So,
Bob, could you also share the one kind of cautionary tale with the Governor Christie administration where they actually took some of our, not took, but they accounted for our reserves and decreased our budget. So there's another area of caution. If we wanted to make reductions, we could get hit at some point in the summer with a reduction as was past practice. I don't know if that's the case, but Bob, could you just walk the board through what occurred at that time and the impact?
Yeah, basically what he did was he took, when he was looking to do that massive elimination of our budget back in, was that 2010? They looked at your reserves and they determined that, if you had these reserves, that you could use those reserves to balance your budget. He was backed up against the wall, and that's the way he looked to fund it. I don't think that they would go that way. This time they've been encouraging people to put money in those reserve accounts for capital and maintenance items because they're not funding, there is no more funding from those RODS grants that we were getting years before. So, again, in these uncertain times, who knows, but they're not, what I've been told is they're not looking at those reserve accounts at this time.
Okay. But just again, as a cautionary tale, it's important to, even when we have those reserves, they decreased our funding by the amount in those reserves.
Mm-hmm.
So Adam, I don't know if I see your mic is off. I don't know if you wanted to jump in on that.
Oh, no, I was listening, and I was just going to comment that I did ask Bob some follow-on questions over the last 2 weeks or so. And, in terms of how you're doing projections, I think you're being prudent about it. I think you're right. I think we've got some unforeseen, potential expenditures, like you mentioned, Tom. We may need to do plan to do some remediation at some point, right? That could be more costly. It sounds like some of the evaluations we may be doing may need to be deferred. I did have one question, which I would just put out there because there was one thing I was thinking of just putting out there as food for thought. But Bob, for what we had planned, you had discussed was this year, the plan was at the end of 2019-20, if we continue as we project, I think the plan was to move $2 million into capital reserve. Is that correct?
Up to that.
Okay. The question I had was this, again, like I just said, in terms of our programming, in terms of what we plan to be spending in terms of capital expenses over the next year and stuff, I think we need to continue along that. The question I had was, given that we may have some, there definitely will be some difficulties in the community with people who are, in terms of paying property taxes and stuff. I guess the one question I have is there any, would it be beneficial for us towards the community to do something like reduce the tax levy this year and then basically use the banked cap the following year? What I'm getting at is this, like what we plan to do is based upon how our budgets run, take what we are able to save and transfer $2 to $2.5 million into capital reserve, right? I did some calculations and it just looked like from the standpoint of what we had planned over the next couple of years that, we have what, 5.4 million in the capital reserve right now. It looked like we have a good enough sum in there to handle the next couple of years worth of work. I just wondered, would there be any, just as making a gesture to the community, would there be any advantage to reducing our budget a little bit this year and then bringing that amount back next year? Basically, it would be deferring a tax levy to fund what we plan to use for capital projects for a little bit of time as we get past this current COVID-19 situation. Just food for thought.
I mean, I don't know whether we're going to have that $2.0 million to put into capital reserve right now, because as when we
for next year, or for this year or for next year,
to be able to make that deposit, that June deposit, I don't know that we will have that amount of money. We didn't have it last year, and we're already taking $2.6 million from this year's budget and moving it to next year already. And we didn't hit the number last year. We didn't make 2 million last year. We were close, 1.9 something, but we weren't, we didn't make it all the way. And this year we're putting more in out of the current budget than we did last year. So again, and to make a significant impact to the taxpayer, you're going to have to take, real expenditures away that we don't know where it's going to fall. That's where I would come from. I wouldn't recommend doing that at this point. And again,
I
that
think
would
we
bring
stay
up
the course.
That would make us bring up the issue of bank cap again next year.
Mm-hmm.
Not knowing what state aid's going to be, going down the road.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah, I mean, I like the idea of making a gesture to the taxpayers of, saying we can, trying to reduce the, the ask, I guess, the total ask for this coming year. I don't know how it will all work out. I mean, it seems like, what Adam's talking about makes sense if the budget that we had already, tentatively passed has roughly, we're expected to have enough from that budget to save 2 to 2.5 million for capital expenses, for capital reserve. If we could reduce that by $1 million, that would be a good idea. I do get we have, there are a lot of unknowns, and there are unknown unknowns. So
I think it would hurt the district more than it would have an impact on the taxpayer. I don't think that it's enough to have an impact on the taxpayer, and it's going to hurt us too much to do it.
how would it hurt us?
I think it's just not worth it to consider it.
If I might, the money that we're talking about that Adam brought up, that $2 million deposit in June, that's an if. We won't know that number until September when the audit's finished. So if we were going to reduce the budget by $1 million, we need to cut $1 million from somewhere.
Right, which would hurt us.
Right, but correct me if I'm wrong, but when we looked at all those slides, the end result was that our expectation was that we were going to have 2.5 million left over at the end to put into capital reserve, right?
It
Isn't that
was
right?
an estimate. It was an estimate.
Okay.
So what you're saying is to not cut the budget, but put more surplus into the budget.
I'm not sure the best way to do it.
I say we stay the course.
Well,
Did anyone else have any further thoughts on this discussion?
so if it makes folks feel better, we are coming in under cap anyway. So it's 1.27% is where we are. Cutting $1 million out of the budget in 7 days. I mean, we could do it, but I mean, we're going to have several meetings because I can't just put it to you on Monday. You have to see the outcome of that.
Yeah. If it has to come out of, existing planned expenses where it can't come out of, some base account where we know that's intended to go into capital reserve next year, I think that is going to be too difficult.
Right.
But, the whole reason I asked was just to see, is there some way of everyone okay? Is there some potential way of doing something like that, that might be looked at as a gesture to the community that, yes, we understand that it's difficult this year. That was my intention for asking the question.
Yeah, and I agree with that. But I do want to clarify something, Tom. When you say we're not spending the cap, I think we are spending the cap, right? I mean, the fact that we're 1.27% higher is only because the debt service is lower. Isn't that correct? Or am I looking at that wrong?
You're correct.
But we are below the 2% cap, regardless of how we got there.
We're spending as much as we're allowed to spend outside of using bank cap.
No, we're not, are we? We're
No.
not.
We could still increase.
We could spend more, we're
We
not.
could
We're
spend
choosing
that
not
debt
to.
service and then some.
So because our debt service went down, we can spend more on top of that? Someone just said I was right. So
No, we have bank cap. We still have bank cap that we could spend.
we
So
could spend bank cap, but we spent the maximum 2%. We cannot spend more unless we go to bank cap.
Correct. You're right.
There. Thank you.
Okay.
Yes, and yes, correct. But the tax levy is still coming down.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah. So I don't know where you want to go with this.
No, I don't know whether it's going anywhere. I think I just wanted to bring up the topic to see whether there was any. Just out of curiosity, have any of the liaisons to the community heard anything from, the boroughs or the district in terms of, how things are looking? Debbie, I know you had some discussions with, I think a couple of or maybe it was Tom that had some discussions with some of the municipal leadership in terms of that bill proposal out of the assembly, and what the plans were in that regard. So has there been any feedback from any of the municipalities in that regard?
Not since since our initial, which I think could become our annual meeting to the communities. I think it was favorably received. In the subsequent conversations that I've had, at least, they were happy with where we landed on that. I
think up to through mid-March, through March, we were, seeing where we thought was logical. I agree.
But even though, and I know, Bob, you were asked to kind of reach out to your groups, their initial response to us is they were not going to, even if that was even if it was an opportunity for them, they were not going to try to delay their payments to us with that. In fact, Bob, I think with where we are now, if this provides you any sort of solace, we are good until July 1, you think, Bob, with our tax?
Yeah, somewhere around July. Our latest cash flow was July 1st.
Yeah, but we received our payments from the municipalities.
Okay.
Yep, for April we received. Yep.
Yeah, so we already received that. So we're, their next one is due when, Bob?
May 1st.
But if that were to be sent later, we would still be okay.
Yeah.
And Bob, am I correct in saying that the municipalities still have the borrowing authority that we do not?
That's correct.
Because I know the only person that I've had conversation with just on a casual level was Joe Lawver, the mayor of Pennington Borough. And, of course, he said that it is a difficult time for them because they're in the same boat in terms of not knowing when their funding is going to come in. But he did not indicate that, he was advocating for passage of this bill in any way. Was there any other discussion about school districts being able to have some borrowing authority? I feel like we did discuss that at one point, but I'm just curious if we got into that.
Part of that legislation that they were passing was going to have a codicil for school districts to be able to borrow. The question was how much? How would you know how much? You'd have to keep borrowing and borrowing and borrowing. If it extended out, we wouldn't know. There wouldn't be a finite number that you'd say, I need, $5 million to get me through before you'd have to borrow again. The legislation that they're trying to pass or that's up has it has some strict requirements that they have to demonstrate the inability to pay and why. And they have to get it approved. It's not just we're not going to pay now because we want to give a break to our taxpayers. They have to demonstrate to the DCA, Department of Community Affairs, that they can't pay. And it would be a hardship to borrow. The issue is if they borrow, the interest is paid by the state.
Okay. And if there were some way to make this nod, to the taxpayer, and we're talking in that neighborhood of $1 million, what would that mean, bottom line, if we were looking at that chart in terms of savings to the individual taxpayer at this point? Do you have a sense for that without too much analysis?
Tom or me?
You, Bob, I'm sorry.
You have the chart. You can do it up. Let me see if I can do
I'm trying to bring it up too.
I mean, based on that chart, it would be very small, but $1 million.
Does it more or less work on a percentage basis, Bob? Like if you're talking $1 million, that's what? That's like a little bit more than 1% of our overall tax. Right? So
to get it's where we go. $750,000 gives us a percent. Is a percent lower in the tax levy.
What is that in pennies?
So to go where we are now at, I'm trying to find this now. To get everybody a penny, you'd have to go. To get everybody a penny, it's about 1.5 million.
Okay.
I certainly appreciate what you're saying, Adam, and your thoughts as well, Bill. I just wonder, again, to Deb's point, does it make enough of a difference to the taxpayer? Is it enough of a gesture worthwhile?
Yeah.
If it does affect the district in a major way.
Yeah, I agree. I think at this point, the disruption that you'd have to go through in a week's time is more than that benefit. Okay. I think if there was more of a clamoring from the municipalities that they need relief, I guess the main thing I'd say then is we really should be looking at opportunities from this year. Obviously we're going to have to look to make sure if we need to do remediation, we're going to have to do remediation. But if there are opportunities, and Bob, we've talked about like from technology standpoint in terms of maybe if some money's left over from this year, instead of doing some of the technology upgrades we plan to do next year, if there's any money left over, maybe we do them with what's left over from this year, given that we have some uncertainty coming out next year.
Sure. I mean, Tony, I've already spoken to Tony about that when we communicated via email, and he's looking into, what we could do.
Any other discussion on that point? Any other board members? Okay, thank you. Any to the budget discussion? Anything else, Bob, that you'd like to share?
Nope, not right now.
Okay. Thank you. Dr.
So Bob,
Smith,
just in terms of
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Just Bob, could you just walk everybody through the process for Monday?
Okay. Essentially, Tom will go through probably a presentation similar to what we've done in the past. At which time the board will ask any questions that they have remaining or they want to share with the public. There'll be a special opportunity for the public to speak on the budget through our methods we have now. And then you'll be asked to do a roll call vote to approve the budget, and that will be the end end of the process for 2021. You're muted again. There you go.
That goes to the county soup.
Correct.
The county soup approves, and then when is the user-friendly budget?
It'll go out
all that?
right after the meeting.
The user-friendly budget.
Correct.
So that goes back, but that's developed by the state based on what we put in.
No, it's available now because once the county superintendent approves it, it makes that document available. So I have that document now.
The user-friendly budget.
Correct.
So folks can see that.
It's always posted the day after the hearing. If you want to post it now, you can post it now. It's up to you.
I don't know, Adam. You've had interest in that in the past. Is that something?
I don't think it would be a bad idea because that would be another source of information that people would have. I don't know how much of the public is going to virtually attend our meeting next Monday, but it's something additional for them to put out there that they can use as a benchmark against prior years.
Bill, as you're new to the process, is there anything you're looking for, you need?
No, I don't think so. No, I mean, going through the past few meetings and everything, I'm okay.
Right.
Thank you.
Jess or John, anything you need to feel comfortable on going to the budget one way or the other?
No, I feel pretty good.
Okay. have you gotten feedback from any of your constituencies? I mean, I've had a lot of conversations with Mayor Anzano. You know, he was fine with kind of where we landed on the budget. I don't know if you're hearing anything.
No, I mean, that's kind of what my conversations with him and the rest of the council has been as well.
Okay. And just for the budget process moving forward, sorry, John.
No.
It seemed like at least providing the opportunity for people to come and have that preliminary budget review seemed to have been well received. So.
Yes, definitely.
I'm sorry, John.
No, nothing. I was just saying that people generally don't come to me when it comes to budget stuff, so I'm good.
All right.
Dr. Smith, were you still thinking of holding that session this week for the public?
Yeah, I think we're going to do it just for the heck of it, to see who wants to come, and we'll see if we get any. You know, our live sessions didn't draw a whole lot of people. I think we had three unique individuals come. You know, maybe people are sitting around interested in the budget, so we'll put it out again and see what happens.
And I'm sorry, that was slated for Thursday?
Thursday morning and evening.
Okay, so 9 and 6.
We'll put it out there.
Yeah.
9 and 6. Yeah.
Thank you.
Tom, do we have AC Plus at 9?
Yeah, we're pushing that back to 10 though, I think.
But if anybody hears of any questions that are out there, that would be the time to let folks know that there are 2 more budget sessions being held on Thursday.
Yep. Yeah, this I think people were interested in graduation clap outs and making sure their teachers are touching base with their kids more than anything.
Okay. Any other topics for discussion for work session? All right. Seeing,
I actually had one question.
Sure.
That came up in like thinking about things. May I mention, but when do we make the transportation aid in lieu payments? And I'm just wondering, at a state level, has anyone thought about that stuff? Because right now, we're not providing transportation to students whose parents received aid in lieu of transportation. So
They're made in June. And we've been told, we were initially told that we would be making those payments in full. And there was a recent, we were then subsequently told to hold, and that those payments would most likely be prorated. But we have, you know, in the absence of official guidance from the state, I don't know. But my guess is they're going to be prorated up until whenever our last day was, based on some kind of, you know, whatever the percentage.
Yep. Okay. Thank you.
They're paid in 5 months and then 5 months, half a year, 2.5 years.
Okay. So with that in mind, we will move to adjourn the meeting. May I have a motion to do so, please?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstaining? The motion carries.
Can I
Thank
share
you, everybody.
Can I share one bit of news?
Oh, sure.
I just got an email from Drew Kapadia. He was one of the students that came in and presented to us. And it was the reason why we adopted Diwali to our calendar, our school calendar now. He got accepted to multiple schools, UC Berkeley, UCLA, Michigan, Rutgers, Boston University, and he's officially accepted Boston University with the full ride scholarship.
Wow.
Political science and statistics.
That's great.
Well deserved.
Yeah.
Well deserved.
Mm-hmm.
Fantastic.
Good news.
Yay.
Yeah.
Let's hope he can make it to his accepted students day.
Yeah, let's hope we can make it to the first day of
Let's hope they open in September, August. Yeah.
Oh my God.
And just for your record keeping, we obviously you're probably aware of it, but just the Boots and Bling, the Foundation's annual gala has been postponed or canceled for this year. They're looking at something else. So that's always a nice event. Unfortunately, not going to take place this year.
Since we're giving little shout outs, and I just want to say that the Hope of LA and the Y with their mobile food pantry, because I walk past it every day at the administration building, has been amazing. And if anybody cleans out their cabinets or their pantries, you should drop off food there, because I think they're a little bit short now that it's, time's been going on. They also, through the Y website, are taking donations, but it's been such a great thing. And I saw Mr. Turnbull there one day putting on the bear costume from Bear Tavern and doing a little video of himself. So I think the school has embraced it and the community definitely appreciates it. So if anybody's cleaning out their pantry, it's a great, great thing to do.
And our own Deb Linthorst is one of the driving forces behind this.
Yes, she is.
No, in a small way, but I'm happy to be a part of such a great community effort. It's fantastic.
It is. It's fantastic.
Very good. Something I think is probably going to be needed for a while to come. So
yes.
And we were just talking, Deb, I think our food pantry deliveries have doubled over the last month. Is that
Yes.
accurate? Yeah.
Yes, it is accurate. And patrons are still requesting help on a daily basis.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so now you can adjourn the meeting. Sorry.
Yeah, sorry.
Thank you, everybody. Stay
Thank
well.
you.
Have a great night.
Thank you. Be safe.
You
Yes,
guys
you too.
Bye.
Meeting ended.
Hello? 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 Hello?